For many centuries, the sword stood alone. It was tall, silent, and buried deep in stone. No wind moved it. No alien ever touched it without fear. Some believed it was cursed. Others thought it was waiting. The planet Valnari became a place of legends. Pilgrims came from across the galaxy to see the sword, a blade older than any known star chart. Some worshipped it. Some tried to steal it. Others simply wanted to be the one to lift it, but no one could. Thousands tried, all failed. Day, a human arrived. His name was Drake Holt, a civilian researcher from Earth. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a hero. He was a curious man with too many questions and not enough answers. He arrived with a small exploration team. Their mission? To study old alien ruins and collect samples. They never expected to find a legend. A tall, three-eyed alien named Torvak served as their local guide. He wore a cloak covered in ancient symbols and spoke in a deep, slow voice. On their second day, Torvak led the group to a cliff above a valley. Below it stood the sword. It rose from a glowing blue stone, taller than any man, its hilt wide and carved with unknown symbols. The stone itself pulsed softly, like a slow heartbeat. That, Torvak said, is the blade of Valnari. Drake tilted his head. How old is it? No one knows. The sword was already here when the first cities were built. Even the stars above have changed. But the sword has not. They moved down the slope and stood before it. The rest of the team took notes, photos, and scans. But none of their tools could read the material. Not even the best human scanners could identify the metal. It's like the sword doesn't want to be known, one of the scientists joked. But Drake was quiet. He stared at it, feeling something strange. Not fear, not awe, a pull. Later that evening, after the team returned to camp, Drake couldn't sleep. The sword stayed in his mind. He walked alone under the stars and returned to it. The wind was soft. The stone glowed gently in the moonlight. He stepped closer. No guards. No cameras. Just him and the blade. He looked at the strange symbols carved on the handle. They were glowing slightly now only. When he was near. Drake reached out. His fingers brushed the metal. It was warm. Suddenly, the stone cracked beneath his feet. A long, thin fracture ran down the glowing base. He jumped back. What the sword moved, just slightly, but it moved. A low hum filled the air, as if the planet itself had exhaled. Then it went silent again. Drake stared at his hand. Then, at the sword. He hadn't pulled it. He just touched it. And for the first time in recorded history, the blade of Valnari moved. The next morning, everything changed. Alarms rang across the alien observatory. Priests were summoned. Scientists rechecked every log. Torvak stood before Drake, his face full of disbelief. You touched it? He asked. Drake nodded slowly. Yes, just for a moment. And it moved? Yes. Torvak's eyes narrowed. You don't understand. That blade is sacred. It has never moved. Not for kings, not for warlords, not for prophets. I didn't mean to do anything, Drake said. But you did, Torvak whispered. You woke it. Within hours, the news spread. Ships landed. Soldiers arrived. Priests formed a ring around the sword, chanting in low tones. Alien elders met in secret rooms. And Drake? He sat alone in a tent. Guards stood outside. No one told him what was happening. He wasn't arrested. He wasn't praised. He was simply watched. That night, he dreamed. Flashes of battle. Fire in the sky. A world drowning in shadows. A voice spoke. In his mind, soft and deep. You are late, but not too late. He woke up gasping. His hand burned. On his palm a faint mark, shaped like the blade's symbol. Outside, The stone glowed brighter than before, and somewhere deep beneath the planet's surface, something ancient opened its eyes. Asterisk, asterisk, the mark on Drake. Holt's hand didn't fade. It stayed there, just beneath his skin, glowing faintly in the dark, like a small flame. No pain, no heat, just light. But the moment the alien saw it, everything changed. A group of priests from the Order of the Stone Flame arrived at sunrise. Dressed in robes of black and silver, they moved like shadows and spoke in chants. They didn't ask questions. They only watched him from a distance, from doorways, from dreams. Alien scientists ran every test they could. Scans, blood work, brainwave. Monitoring. Every machine gave strange readings when placed near Drake. His neural activity spiked whenever he got close to the sword. The machines glitched. One even sparked and exploded. Torvak, the alien guide, stood beside the damaged device and muttered, "No machine can explain what belongs to the stars." On the third day, Drake was brought before the Council of Elders, 10 powerful alien leaders sat in a high chamber made of glowing stone and smooth crystal walls. Their faces were serious, some curious, some clearly angry. "You touched the sacred weapon," the High Speaker said. "Why?" Drake stood tall. "I didn't know. It was sacred." "That is not an excuse," said another. "You moved it. You woke it. Now things will change." Drake's voice stayed calm. "Then help me understand. What did I wake?" A silence filled the room. Then an old alien woman, skin marked with hundreds of carved tattoos, leaned forward. "A forgotten promise," she whispered. "A blade made, not by our hands, but by yours." Drake frowned. "Humans? But this world, this sword predates Earth's space travel." "Your species forgot many things," she said softly. "But the blade did not forget you." Later that night, Drake sat alone near the sword again. It glowed brighter every time he got close. The base stone was now fully cracked, thin lines of light spreading like roots in the ground. He didn't dare touch it again, but he didn't walk away either. He stared. And the sword stared back. In the silence, he spoke. "I'm not special," he said quietly. "I'm not a hero. I came here to study rocks, not hold a sword." The wind picked up. The blade pulsed with light. Suddenly a flash of vision. Drake fell to his knees. Gasping. Images flooded his mind. A battlefield in space. Ships burning. The sword flying through the stars like a spear of fire. A figure human, but not like him, wielding the sword, leading an army of species united. Then darkness. And a single voice. "You are late?" But not too late. He woke hours later inside the medical dome. Torvak stood beside him, holding an old Data crystal. "What is that?" Drake asked. Torvak placed it gently in his hand. "Something only you can unlock." The crystal glowed. The moment it touched Drake's palm, a hologram appeared, flickering, ancient, recorded in a language long forgotten. But somehow, Drake understood it. A tall, armored figure spoke. "To the one who lifts the blade, you are not chosen because you are human. You are chosen because you remember what others forgot. This sword is not a weapon. It is a key." The message ended. Torvak looked shaken. "You must leave this place." "Why?" Drake asked. "Because now, others will come for you." The next morning, the skies above Valnari filled with ships. Some carried warriors, some carried scholars, but not all came in peace. And the blade? It hummed louder than ever. Waiting. They came from all across the stars. Warships, patrol cruisers, and silent black vessels with no flags. Some came with questions, some came with weapons. All of them came for the same reason. The blade of Valnari had moved, and the one who touched it was human. Drake Holt stood at the edge of the ancient temple ruins, watching the skies darken as more ships landed. The quiet planet was now a storm of attention. News networks, warriors, historians, and spies all circling around him. He still didn't feel chosen. He felt like a mistake the universe couldn't take back. Inside the council hall, the elders argued. He must be protected. No, he should be studied. He is a danger to all. He is the prophecy. One voice broke through them all. Tore single quotes VAK. He placed an ancient scroll onto the table. Its cover glowed faintly, just like the blade. This is the original text of the prophecy of fire, he said. We've read it wrong for centuries. They leaned in. Torvak read, when the stars have circled 9 times 9, the blade shall wake for the one who remembers the first flame, not the strongest, not the fastest, but the one who arrives without pride. A stranger, a seeker, a spark that reignites the old fire. Everyone turned to Drake. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't royal. He didn't come to conquer. He came to learn. And the blade had responded. That night, Drake was moved to a new chamber deep, under the main city. It was quiet, carved from black stone, lined with glowing lines like veins. There, he was handed the scrolls, the true history of the blade. Asterisk long ago, before many species had even learned spaceflight, the sword was forged by an ancient alliance. One of its creators was human. Not from the earth they knew now, but from an earlier time, a forgotten cycle of humanity, lost in war and silence. The blade had been locked away to wait. It was never meant for war, Drake read. It was meant to bring the fire of memory. Later, Torvak found him sitting in the chamber, staring at the blade. You were meant to lift it, Torvak said. I don't want it, Drake replied. That's exactly why I chose you. Suddenly, alarms rang. The chamber shook. A voice shouted through the comms. Unauthorized ship breaching the surface. Drake stood, heart pounding. Outside, a dark ship hovered above the sword's resting place. From it descended a tall alien in red armor, High Inquisitor Krell, a warrior from the old galaxy, known for crushing relic seekers and burning temples. He walked straight to the sword, raised his gauntlet, and shouted, The blade belongs to the stars, not to the dirt of Earth. He tried to lift it. Nothing. He snarled. Again. He pulled. Still, it didn't move. Then he turned toward Drake, who had stepped forward, a mark on his hand now glowing again. Krell pointed at him. You are unworthy. You are a joke of history. Give me the blade, or I'll take your life. Drake didn't back down. It didn't choose you, he said. And if you understood why, you'd fear it. The ground cracked beneath them. The sword pulsed. The temple shook, and a voice echoed not from the walls, not from machines, from the blade itself. He remembers. Everyone froze. Even Krell. Drake slowly walked to the sword. He placed his hand on the hilt. This time, there was no flash. No quake. Just silence. And then the blade slid free. Smooth. Clean. Like it had always belonged to him. Krell stepped back in fear. The council stared in awe. And Drake, holding the sword, whispered, I don't know what's coming, but I think I'm part of it now. Asterisk the blade was in his hands. Drake Holt didn't lift it with power. He didn't pull or strain. It had simply let go. As if the sword had been waiting. Not for a king, not for a warrior, just for someone who remembered. The crowd stood silent. The priests dropped to their knees. The council of elders bowed their heads. Even High Inquisitor Krell, proud and angry moments ago, said nothing. His face was pale, his eyes unsure, and the sword, in Drake's hands, now fully free from the stone, began to glow brighter. Lines of golden light appeared along its edges. The ancient runes shifted, rearranged, and a soft hum filled the air. Torvak whispered, "It's activating." Drake looked at him. Activating what? Without warning, the ground beneath them shook. A deep rumble echoed through the mountains. From behind the temple, large slabs of stone began to slide open walls that hadn't moved in thousands of years. The sword pulsed again, and the light flowed from its blade into the stone beneath Drake's feet. A path appeared, not drawn, not carved, grown like veins of gold lighting up in the floor. And it led into the temple. "Follow it," Torvak said. Drake didn't speak. He simply moved, with every step he took. The walls responded, lighting up with glowing images, stars exploding, ships in ancient battles. A symbol, the same mark, now on his palm. The temple wasn't reacting to the blade. It was reacting to him. At the heart of the chamber stood a circular platform. As he stepped onto it, the sword vibrated gently in his hand. The floor lit up. A massive holographic map appeared above them. It showed the galaxy. But different. Not how it looked now, how it had looked long ago. Planets with names he didn't know. Human settlements in systems now abandoned. One system flashed bright blue. Torvak whispered, "That's not on any star chart." A voice filled the air, not electronic. Ancient, deep, alive. "You hold the memory of fire. You carry the key. Now you must find what was lost." The map zoomed into the glowing system. A set of coordinates appeared in the air. Drake stared. "What is it?" he asked. Torvak replied quietly, "A location ... hidden for eons." Drake looked down at the sword. "Is this what it's for? To find that place?" Torvak nodded. "Yes, and to protect whatever is there." But before they could speak again, the temple shook violently. Alarms blared from outside. An alien soldier ran in, breathless. "Inquisitor Krell's fleet is powering up weapons. They demand the blade be surrendered, or the city will be destroyed." Drake gripped the sword tighter. He had expected fear, but instead, he felt clarity. Like the sword was whispering to him. "Stand. Move forward. Do not hide." "I have to leave," Drake said. Torvak nodded. "Then you must take the ancient path, beneath the mountain." As they moved quickly down the glowing corridors, the temple's lights dimmed behind them, almost like it knew this. Chapter was ending, and a new one was about to begin. Outside, Krell's fleet floated above the city, missiles armed, shields raised. But as Drake exited through the hidden passage, blade on his back, mark on his hand, the skies above flickered. The clouds parted. And a massive symbol of light, the same as the one on his palm, appeared in the sky above the temple. Krell's. Ships powered down instantly. All eyes looked up. And a single truth burned into every watcher's mind. The blade has chosen, the path has opened, and fire will rise again. The path beneath the temple was older than memory, carved from block, stone and glassy crystal. It ran deep into the mountains, twisting, silent, untouched by time. The air felt colder with every step, but the sword on Drake Holt's back stayed warm, like it knew the way. Beside him, Torvak held a small torch that pulsed in sync with the blade. "This tunnel," Torvak whispered, "was not built to hide the sword. It was built to hide from it." Drake frowned. "Hide from it? Why?" Torvak looked uneasy. "Because some feared what the sword could wake." They walked for hours. Then the tunnel opened into a wide, underground chamber. It wasn't empty. 6 tall stone statues stood in a circle, shaped like alien warriors from 6 long extinct species. But they weren't statues. They were guardians. As Drake stepped into the circle, the sword lit up, glowing brighter than ever. The stone warriors moved. They weren't alive in the normal sense. No breath, no heartbeat, but their eyes lit with blue flame. Their heads turned toward Drake in unison. One of them twice his height, shaped like a lion carved from metal spoke, with a voice that echoed inside his mind. You carry the flame. But do you know its cost? Drake stood tall. No, that's why I'm here. The lion-shaped guardian lowered its head slightly. We were the last to hold the sword. We gave it up, because we were not ready. Another guardian spoke this. One smaller, shaped like a crystal humanoid. The blade holds memory, and memory becomes burden. They began to circle him slowly, their voices joining together like a storm. You will see death. You will feel time break. You will be hunted. You will be doubted. You will be used. Drake didn't move. I didn't ask for this, he said, but the fire chose you. The lion guardian answered. And now you must carry it forward. In the center of the chamber, a new platform rose. On it a stone box, sealed with golden rings. The sword in Drake's hand pulsed. He stepped forward and laid it across the box. It opened. Inside was not a weapon. Not a key. Not a treasure. It was a recording crystal. Old, ancient. Human made. Drake touched it. A figure appeared above it, human, armored, worn. She looked like a commander, her voice strong but tired. If you're seeing this, the galaxy forgot what we were. The sword you hold was made not to fight wars, but to stop them. We gave it a soul. We gave it memory. And we hid it so that only one who still remembered what it meant to protect, not conquer, could awaken it. The crystal dimmed. The guardians bowed. Torvak whispered, You're not a weapon, Drake. You're a reminder. But before they could leave, the air shook. An explosion rocked the mountain. Dust fell from the ceiling. Voice shouted through the old temple's system. Drake! They're coming. Krell's forces broke the peace. They're after you. The city is under attack. Drake looked to the sword. No more doubts. Now. No more questions. He drew it once more. The light flared brighter than ever. The symbol on his palm. Burning gold. Then it's time I stop running. Torvak nodded. The sword doesn't want you to fight. It wants you to lead. As they ran up the tunnel, toward fire and chaos above, the guardians returned to their stillness. One whispered, Fading into stone, the fire has risen again. Asterisk, the mountain burned above. Alien ships swarmed the skies, firing on each other. The peace had broken. Valnari was under siege. But deep beneath the surface, Drake Holt was changing. He wasn't just carrying the blade now. The blade was carrying him. As he and Torvak raced through the hidden passage, the sword's glow brightened. With every step it sensed what was coming. Suddenly, Drake stumbled. A bright flash struck his mind. He gasped and fell to his knees. The world around him vanished. He was no longer in the tunnel. He stood in a different place. Vast black space filled with stars and memory. Floating in front of him were hundreds of scenes, glowing like windows in the dark. The sword pulsed in his hand. The blade was showing him its memory. He saw a lost Earth colony, humans fleeing. A dying star, creating peace with alien species no one remembered. The forging of the blade inside a star's heart, made from metal not found in any system now known. A galactic alliance that once stood strong, built by many, but held together by humans, and finally betrayal. The alliance fell. The memory was buried. The sword was sealed away, not to rule again, a voice whispered, but to remember. When the time was right, Drake opened his eyes. He was back in the tunnel, breath short, vision spinning. Torvak helped him up. What happened? He asked. Drake's voice was quiet. Asterisk. The blade showed me everything. We were never just explorers. We were builders. We were protectors. And when the galaxy forgot who we were, the sword remembered. Outside, the temple city was crumbling under attack. High Inquisitor Krell's forces had broken through the outer shields. Soldiers marched across sacred ground. Drones scanned for one thing. Drake. Krell shouted over a broadcast tower. Give me the human. Surrender the blade. Or this planet burns. Drake walked to the highest tower, sword in hand. He climbed to the top. All eyes turned to him. Krell saw him from the command ship above. So you show yourself, Krell growled. Are you ready to die for a myth? Drake lifted the blade. No, he said calmly. I'm ready to remind you of the truth. The sword flared with light. But this time, it didn't glow for war. It glowed for memory. A beam of pure energy shot into the sky. It split the clouds. It covered the planet. And then, it projected visions into the minds of every being watching. The lost humans who first led with wisdom, not power. The peace they once built across species. The truth of what had been erased. Krell fell to his knees. Overwhelmed. Soldiers dropped their weapons. Even the machines froze. Everyone saw the same message. Humanity was never meant to rule. We were meant to remember. And now that memory returns. Drake lowered the sword. The battle had stopped not by force, but by truth. He turned to Torvak, whose face was filled with awe. What now? Drake asked. Torvak smiled. Now. The galaxy listens. Asterisk silence. Across the planet of Valnari, no one moved. No one fired. No one shouted. Even the stars above seemed to pause. The memory of the sword, a vision of old Earth, of ancient peace, a forgotten truth still echoed in every mind. And in the center of it all stood Drake Holt, holding the blade that once united a galaxy. High Inquisitor Krell, once feared across systems, stood frozen on his command deck. Sweat covered his face. He stared at the sword's light in the sky, like a man staring at a ghost. This cannot be, he whispered. But deep inside, even he knew, the sword had chosen. And not one alien only, a human could awaken what the galaxy had buried. Down below, the Council of Elders stood with Torvak. Some were crying. Others bowed. No one doubted now. The blade had remembered. And now, so would they. Drake didn't speak at first. He walked slowly down the temple steps, the sword glowing softly at his side. It was no longer heavy. It felt natural, like it had always been part of him. He looked to Torvak, then to the ships above, then to the alien citizens watching with wide, silent eyes. And finally, he spoke. The sword was never meant to conquer. It was built to protect, not just for humans, but for all of us. The past forgot that. I won't. A child, alien girl with silver skin stepped forward from the crowd. She looked up at him and pointed at the sword. Are you going to be our king? Drake smiled gently. No, I'm just the first to remember what we're meant to be. One by one, the crowd approached. They didn't kneel. They didn't worship. They stood with him. Not below. Beside. Above. Krell turned away and gave the command. Stand down. We've already lost. His ships left without another word. No battle. No surrender. Just acceptance. Later, in the ancient council chamber, the leaders asked Drake, "What do you want now?" He looked out the window at the people below. The sword now rested on his back, no longer glowing, but not sleeping either. I want to teach, he said. I want to share what we forgot, and I want to make sure no one buries the truth. Ever again. The stars moved overhead. Galaxies turned. And far, far away. A second sword awakened. Its glow, red. Its whisper. Cold. Another memory, not of peace, but of war. And the blade in Drake's care? It pulsed one last time and whispered. In his thoughts, you remembered, but more is coming. And you are not the only one chosen. The end. Asterisk.